I hate that, I don't want to barge in and do hog the show, but when Don mentioned the formation of the club, I remember Dan Luttrell and the three of them. And then once we got organized better, then the Alpha Eta chapter from Georgia came up to initiate us and swear us in and do all that. So we were getting ready to do it. Well, we weren't really welcomed on the campus by the other fraternities because they knew the ag campus carried a lot of political power. And so they didn't want to see it watered down by a club that entirely insisted you had to be an ag major to get into it. So they weren't cooperative, and it just happened to be that the day we were getting initiated, they were having the interfraternity basketball tournament. And Don was away then. He was the chapter president, noble ruler, and I was vice noble ruler. And I tried to get it changed so we could get it delayed a few hours till after our initiation. No, they wouldn't cooperate. We couldn't get it changed. So what we did was figure the order of initiation, and that's how we got our Alpha Kappa numbers. First three, it was Dan Luttrell and the three presidents of the club, and then Don was number three. And then we went to basketball, and you can tell the ones that went from 3 through 10. I'm number 10. I had to stay there as vice noble ruler to work with the Eta chapter. So anyway, we went through, you can tell the tall ones that have the tall numbers, Bill Murphy and Gene Caldwell, and however it went, that's how it went on down. And then after the basketball team had gotten sworn in and got their numbers and departed to play in the tournament, which I think they lost. Did you win, Gene?
I always remembered we won, but I'm not sure.
No, I don't think
you were better at rope pulling. And, anyway, that's a little bit of background, and it was kind of interesting. Another thing I do want to bring out right early was the formation of this club. The people that were members of the club, as I remember very well, we almost had a fraternity that worked with white jackets at the UT cafeteria.
Right.
And almost everybody that was the initial members of the club sort of grouped together, except the pretty girls we had there. They were home ec majors, and we were mostly ag majors. So that's how it started the basis for the membership to go over to the club meetings. I'll bow out with that.
We would get paid at the cafeteria for working there, one meal for an hour's work. And it was a good meal, so we had a lot of our brothers that worked there. And many of us had come up from Martin, the 2-year college there. And so it was great that we did that. I can remember one story that might be of interest. We had one of our young brothers, Samuel Keys, who is dead now, but Samuel Keys was bragging one night about he could eat more of these hot, sweet donuts than all the rest of us. So we took a challenge on and took him down to the Tennessean restaurant, and they brought out 6 big donuts that were probably about that big around, hot, loaded with grease. And so Sam went through the first plate of 12 pretty fast. The rest of us just nibbling on the donuts, and he got up to about number 20, and then he began to turn green in the gills, and in a minute he headed for the bathroom. And so we did not have any more bragging rights about eating those donuts for a while.
I think an interesting sidelight to some of the younger boys, if they ever get to see this, is the fact how much money was available to us back then. As I remember it, we had about 1 car in the early 50s at the fraternity house.
It got stolen.
Baxter had a car, and Guilford Thornton had a car.
Yeah.
I had a car there too.
Yes.
But it was tight, and I remember Arthur Jones, one of the brothers, earlier than me, used to be an all-night person. Matter of fact, Arthur was known to miss classes at 12 noon because he overslept. But he'd stay up all night and occasionally worry the rest of the brothers. Well, one night we were discussing And we felt like if we ever got a job making $500 a month, we would have arrived. We thought that was great money, $6,000 a year. Quite a bit different from what it is today.
I'd like to expand on that a little bit. I feel young with these older people around me, but I was social chairman in about 56, I guess, and we planned the Pink Rose Formal to be held out at the Jewish Country Club off Alcoa Highway. And we had a band, we had dinner for two, plus the rental of the club, and it cost $17 for a couple. And we had some guys who couldn't go. And we tried to work it down a little bit so we could get people in. So that's a big change.
I have kind of following up what Brent said about money. When we were moving to here and making arrangements to move here, we had to have $30,000. And I believe that was the figure, or maybe it was $20,000. Anyway, we had the old house on 1613 sold with a $10,000 profit, and we had to raise among the membership alumni $10,000. I got stuck with the job of being the fundraising chairman. And gentlemen, if you want to know how tough it is to raise $10,000 back in those days, it's easier to raise $1 million right now than it was $10,000. I happen to have prowling through my stuff, a copy of the directory 5657, and it's got the old house on it. And of those people that are listed there, there's about 130 alums, and every one of them was like me. They just started working, were just barely above starvation, and raising that $10,000 was a tough job. I also happen to have an invitation here to a particular function here. The Gregory Bell Caldwell first annual Friday night preceding homecoming cocktail party will be held this year in the basement of one of our AGR houses for all returning alumni. And I guess that must have been while we were in the process. This has already been heralded as by many as one of the outstanding social events of the year, perhaps will become a tradition. This is expected to become the gathering place for the socially prominent leaders of our country. We already have firm reservations from 3 of these leaders, namely Gregory Bell and Caldwell. And you can take part in this important event by just showing up in Knoxville this year on November 11th and finding out which AGR house we're using.
Well, before that, we needed some money to redo the front of the house, best I remember. And this was along about 1955, and we decided, we had a meeting, decided to ask our members, alumni members, for dues, $3 per year, I think, dues. And we also asked as many that could loan the fraternity $100. So we remember that night. And we would pay 3% interest per year. And had 2 guys to